Welcome everyone to our first Thrones and Liberty content video. I know, this isn't exactly what everybody wanted to see, but I think it is something that we did need to cover. So I've been hearing that some people have been having some technical issues with the game, such as crashing or poor performance. My good buddy Gung Ho Guns was having constant crashing on our first day of early access to where it cost us at least like 2 hours of playtime. And after running some of the fixes for him, he has yet to crash since then. So hopefully this will help some of you. Now, just like any kind of IT issues, there are a lot of variables, and I can't cover every single one of them, so these fixes might not work for everyone. The first thing you should do is check if your graphics card drivers are up to date. We'll go over both Nvidia and AMD graphics cards and how to update them. We'll go ahead and start with Nvidia first. I will have a link in the description to the tools used for this. For Nvidia, it will be the GeForce Experience tool that will update the drivers for you. Now, when you do download it, you will need to sign up for a free account. Once you do sign up, it'll allow you to perform the updates. The way you'll do it is at the top left, there will be a drivers button. Once you click on that, you can then click check for updates. It'll do a quick scan to make sure that you are updated or if you're missing anything. Once it does the scan, you'll get a green button to actually perform the update, and then you'll get this pop-up asking you if you wanted a express or a custom. I always go with custom. And then once you click that, you'll get a secondary pop-up, and I always do a clean install. This way it'll remove any old drivers and make sure that the new ones are running properly. Your screen will flicker a couple of times, just leave it alone, and after a few minutes everything will go back to normal and you will get a confirmation saying that the drivers have been installed. For AMD users, AMD has a similar tool called AMD Software Adrenaline. Again, I will have a link in the description for it. Once installed, there will be a section to the right side for you to check for updates and install any that way. Again, if given the options, always go for custom and clean installs. Next will be the BIOS update. This one is a bit tricky and depending on your motherboard's manufacturer. If you're running the 13th or 14th gen Intel CPUs, this will resolve a lot of issues you might be having with this game or other. I would only recommend doing this yourself if you are comfortable. Otherwise, please get someone who knows how to do this part. If you want to give it a shot anyway, the steps are not too bad. If you don't know what motherboard you have, you can type into Windows search system information, and that will bring up an application which will allow you to locate your manufacturer's motherboard name. What you can do with this is you can then input that into, unfortunately, you will have to use Google here a little bit, and that will navigate you to the manufacturer's website. Some manufacturers have tools that will update your BIOS for you, and it's as quick and simple as running like a Windows update. You have it scan, it'll say if you have an update or not, and you run the update. However, some manufacturers don't have these tools and you will have to do it manually. If you want to give it a shot, I recommend you Google a video for your board on how to do that. It can be a bit tricky. If you are not comfortable, again, have someone else who knows how to do it do this for you. Some of you might have been looking to find a video showing you how to do this step by step. Unfortunately, the steps for that are different for each motherboard almost, and there are just so many models and brands and BIOS versions up there that it wouldn't be possible for me to cover everything for every single person's board. So the best option would be to get that name using the steps outlined and then just either YouTubing a video on how to do it or checking to see if the manufacturer has that tool to do it for you. Coming over to the settings in the game, we're going to be looking at the graphics. Once we're on the graphics setting, we're going to be in the screen tab right here. The first thing we want to do is really take a look at this frame rate limit. What I would recommend now, even though this, you can set it to no limit, you can set it to 360 and anywhere in between, and there are people out there with beastly computers. However, when you enter large scale group combat, let's say you have this at no limit or you have this set to a very high limit, that FPS will dip, and that dip will cause issues. It will cause stuttering, it will cause lag. So what I would recommend is to just limit that to either 60 or like 120 FPS, and that should minimize that kind of dipping issue, and then the stuttering in some of these larger scale combat situations like sieges or world bosses. Scrolling down to this section right here with the Nvidia DLSS, AMD FSR2, and the Intel Xe Super Sampling. Now, depending on your graphics card is the one you want to enable. I have a Nvidia graphics card, so what I want to use is the Nvidia DLSS, and it has a few options in here. You have quality, balance, performance, and ultra performance. Depending on which one you set, it'll either reduce or increase, the quality of the game or the performance of the game. If you want, you can always just choose balanced. If your computer is doing just fine, you want up the quality, you can do quality. If it's not, you can go with performance. And the same thing will apply with AMD and the Intel GPUs. Switching over to the quality section, what we want to do is scroll all the way down over to this advanced portion. Now, personally, I have disabled these 4 settings: depth of field, motion blur, chromatic aberration, and lens flare. To me, they don't add enough of an immersive experience to make up for the problems. The motion blur, especially when you're moving around and you're fighting and things like that, just the camera getting all fuzzy, and it's more of a headache, and it's more of a hindrance when you're trying to do something than it is a boon to it looking better. Same thing for a lot of these other ones. Lens flare, you're running, you have that God ray beam of light coming down into your camera. I just went ahead and I disabled all 4 of these. If these don't bother you, you can definitely leave them on, but I think for a lot of people, especially those that suffer from any kind of motion sickness, turning these off would be a great level of help. Going further down, this one, the hair strands, I have turned off. I don't know about you guys. I'm gonna mostly be playing this game zoomed out far enough to where I won't even be able to see this effect occurring. So using computer resources for this effect doesn't really make too much sense to me. Hopping over to gameplay, actually making some setting adjustments to how the game functions. What we want to do is go into controls, down here under attack. And the settings we want to look into is these here first, the auto move functions. So if you do find it troublesome to hit a skill, and let's say you're not in range of the boss or you're not in range of an ally to heal them, and it happens constantly, try enabling these settings. What this will do is it'll force your character to walk closer just in range to do that skill. So this may help out those people who are always just shy a few feet from being able to actually do the skill they want. Coming further down, we have these 4 skills here, or not skills, but settings, and these 4 tie in with each other. So we have toggle charge skills, toggle aimed skills. Now, toggle charge skills, there are some abilities in the game where when you press the button, you'll get a bar on your screen that charges that attack up, and the longer that it charges, the more damage it'll deal. If you have this option enabled, what it will do is if you press that button, you will then need to hold that button until that bar completely fills up, or when you decide to release it. When you let go of the button, it'll fire off the attack. if you turn this setting off, instead you will need to press the button twice. Once to start the charge, and then when you're ready to fire it, you press the button again and it'll fire the attack. The toggle aim skills setting will be for your ground AoEs and like your ground healing effects. If you turn this on, it'll act like the charged toggle, where if you hold the button down, you'll see the circle on the ground, and then when you let go, that's where it'll do that effect. If you turn it off, you'll press the button, you'll see that circle, you'll get to move your mouse around, place it where you want it, and then press the button again for it to actually be placed at that location. Now, these two settings here, and I will have a before and after, or comparing them on and off on screen here for you. We'll go with the aimed skill lock on current target. So this one will pair up with the charge skill. When you have this enabled and you're doing a charged attack, it'll lock that charged attack onto your current target. So no matter where your target is moving, it'll always follow them unless they move right as you release it, in which case they might be able to dodge it. But this will help you actually aim the shots a bit better and not miss as much. Going on to the snap on target for ground directional skills. Like I mentioned with the toggle aim skills with the ground AoEs, this one, if you have it on, it will center that circle, that AoE on the target that you have. That way you can quick fire it off. You don't have to hover your mouse over the area and then click it down or anything like that. You just press it twice and it'll always launch that ground AoE at wherever your target is. The only caveat I have with these two settings right here at the bottom is for PvP, because there will be scenarios where you may not want to shoot that skill at your target. So let's say if you're playing a bow user and you have your charged snipe shot, right? And you're shooting your first target, your target A, but then you see target B kind of coming out of nowhere or running away and they're very low health. You might want to be able to do the charged up shot and snipe them from range. Or with the ground effects, you might be fighting one person, but you see a group of people fighting somewhere else. You might want to throw your AoE effect, your ground, for a larger impact in that location instead of your target. So that's where I would kind of be mindful with these two settings. Play around with them and see kind of where your play style is and what is better for your kind of playing situation. Moving down to character, what I would do is scroll all the way to the bottom, and this setting right here, the Amatoi, show other Amatoi. I don't know about you, but I would feel very overwhelmed and it'd be very chaotic in group content, let's say a GVG, to see 400 players on screen and then 400 Amatois. That's a bit excessive, so I have that turned off. I don't really need to see other people's Amatois. You can't do really anything with them. You can't focus them, so why have them displayed unless you want to see how someone's Amatoi, if it's rare or anything, looks like. That would really be it. I personally have this off. Coming over to target, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to about halfway in this auto target when attacking. Now, I've been playing with some people who have found it kind of cumbersome when they're fighting a target and it dies, or let's say like does a stealth or it teleports somewhere and they lose the targeting, and they're trying to spam their attack and they don't have anything targeted, so their attacks aren't working. Or when they're fighting a lot of enemies at once and every time one of them dies, they have to then switch targets constantly. If you come in here and you enable one of these settings, it will then auto target the next enemy or that same enemy if you drop targeting for whatever reason. And if you scroll down just a little bit, there are some priorities you can set, some methods. So this is customizable if you don't like how it works by default. Because I have had players in my group when leveling where we'll be fighting something in the open world and we'll kill it, but they'll keep spamming their attack and they'll instantly target something we weren't even going to be fighting and they'll start hitting it. So you can adjust these settings and kind of tune them to your liking. One more thing before I forget. So you can disable camera shake. I hate camera shake. It kind of makes me wheezy. I turn that off. I would recommend it. If you care or don't care, it's kind of up to you, but this won't really impact performance, but it'll definitely impact your enjoyment of the game. With all those settings out of the way, you should now be all set and hopefully not crash or error out anymore and have a better experience playing Throne Liberty. For those of you who have stayed through the entire video, thank you, and be on the lookout for my next video where I cover starting off in Throne Liberty, leveling, gearing, and how to not get overwhelmed with everything it throws at you on your first day. If any of this information helped you out, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If there are any tips and tricks that did help you out that I didn't cover, please leave them in the comments so we can share them with everybody else. Until next time, friends, this was Fate. Have a great day.